Why do privates get hammered for being late, but officers get counseled privately? I learned the answer during my first year at Fort Benning. I was private first class Sterling Webb, clean record, always on time, never caused problems. Our company had this first sergeant named Donovan Pierce, 22 years in, by the book guy who ran formations like clockwork. If you were late, you were dead. We also had this lieutenant, Curtis Brennan, fresh out of West Point, assigned as our platoon leader. Nice enough guy, but had this habit of rolling in late to everything. Morning formation was at 0600. Every single morning, Lieutenant Brennan would show up at 0615, sometimes 0630. Nothing ever happened. First Sergeant Pierce would just nod at him. Formation would continue like normal. Meanwhile, if any enlisted showed up even 30 seconds late, we'd get absolutely destroyed. Extra duty, loss of weekend pass, written counseling statements, the whole deal. One Monday morning changed everything. I was driving to base when my truck died at a red light, completely dead, wouldn't turn over. I called my squad leader immediately, told him what happened. He said get there as fast as possible. Ended up running 2 miles in uniform, made it to formation at 0603, 3 minutes late. First Sergeant Pierce saw me arrive. His face went red. Webb, front and center. I ran to the front of formation, standing at attention, sweating, out of breath. You're late, Private. Yes, First Sergeant, my vehicle broke down. I ran here from. I don't want to hear excuses. You should have left earlier. You should have had a backup plan. Right then, Lieutenant Brennan pulled into the parking lot. I could see his car from where I stood. He got out, checked his phone, grabbed his coffee, casual as Sunday morning, 0618, 18 minutes late. He walked over to formation. First Sergeant Pierce glanced at him. Morning, Lieutenant. Morning, First Sergeant. Sorry I'm late. That was it. No explanation, no consequence. Just moved on. Meanwhile, I'm still standing there at attention getting chewed out for 3 minutes. Webb, you're on extra duty this week, kitchen detail every evening, and I'm giving you a written counseling statement. But First Sergeant, dismissed. I went back to my spot in formation. Could feel everyone's eyes on me. We all knew what had just happened. After formation, my buddy Vincent caught up with me. Man, that's messed up. Brennan's late every day and nothing happens. It is what it is, I said, but inside I was fuming. The next morning I set 3 alarms. Left my house an hour early. Got to formation at 0530. First one there. 0615 rolls around. Lieutenant Brennan shows up late again. This pattern continued for weeks. I watched him arrive late 16 times in 1 month. Never got counseled. Never got extra duty. Nothing. Then came the morning that broke everything open. We had a battalion formation. All 4 companies. Battalion commander would be there. Sergeant major would be there. This was the big one. Everyone knew you didn't mess around with battalion formations. Show up early or don't show up at all. I arrived at 0515. 45 minutes early. 0555. 5 minutes before start time. Everyone's accounted for except Lieutenant Brennan. First Sergeant Pierce is looking at his watch. Getting nervous. This looks bad for our company. 0600. Battalion commander calls formation to attention. We're missing our platoon leader. 0615. Still no Brennan. Battalion commander walks over to First Sergeant Pierce. I can see them talking. Pierce is explaining something. Commander's face is getting red. 0630. Formation ends. Still no Brennan. We're dismissed but told to wait. Something's happening. Then Brennan's car pulls into the parking lot. 0645. 45 minutes late to battalion formation. He gets out looking relaxed. Then sees the battalion commander and sergeant major standing there waiting for him. His face goes white. What happened next was beautiful. Battalion commander called him over. They talked for maybe 30 seconds. Then the commander turned to his sergeant major. Sergeant major, I want Lieutenant Brennan's platoon performance records for the past 6 months. Turns out the sergeant major had been watching. He'd noticed Brennan's chronic lateness. Had been documenting it, waiting for the right moment. They found 16 instances of being late to morning formation. 7 instances of being late to meetings. 4 instances of being late to training events. All documented, all with no consequences. The battalion commander asked First Sergeant Pierce why nothing had been done. Pierce tried to explain. Sir, I counseled him privately each time. Show me the counseling statements. Pierce had nothing. No paperwork, no documentation, just private conversations that led to nothing. Meanwhile, my file had a written counseling statement for being 3 minutes late due to vehicle breakdown. Sergeant Major pulled my record during the investigation. Held it up as an example of the double standard. This private gets destroyed for 3 minutes. This lieutenant gets nothing for chronic lateness. Battalion commander was not happy. Lieutenant Brennan got relieved of platoon leader duties. Transferred to a staff position. Career effectively solved. First Sergeant Pierce got a formal counseling from the battalion commander about enforcing standards equally. The best part came 2 weeks later. Sergeant Major called me into his office. I thought I was in trouble for something. Instead, he handed me my counseling statement. This is being removed from your file. You did nothing wrong except have bad luck with your vehicle. Then he promoted me to specialist 6 months ahead of schedule. Said the Army needed soldiers who showed up early and took responsibility seriously. Lieutenant Brennan left the Army 8 months later. Couldn't handle being a staff officer after leading troops. First Sergeant Pierce retired the next year. Word was he couldn't shake the reputation of playing favorites. Me? I stayed in for 12 years, made sergeant first class, and I never forgot what the sergeant major told me that day in his office. Rules mean nothing if they're not enforced equally. The moment you have different standards for different ranks, you lose trust, and without trust, you have no unit.